Hey there, Sovereigns. Monica Grace from cardreadingqueen.com here, and today's topic is about twin soul sex. How to fall in love with your sex life. So, this is not going to be, I think a lot of people hear the word sex and think that it's going to be something really scandalous. So it's not going to be that. What I'm really going to talk about is how the patriarchy is it gives both masculines and feminines a distorted view of sex. And it's almost all linked back to the patriarchy. So I'm going to talk about that because this is wounding that you'll likely need to heal either after you get into union and you're having sex with your twin soul, or beforehand, because this wounding can really cause a lot of other problems. So this is a collective wounding, which sounds weird to say, but it's basically, there's a lot of toxicity around how society views sex, talks about sex, doesn't talk about sex. And most of what we learn about sex in, and I'm speaking specifically for the US and the US culture, but I think it's also true in any culture where it's like a very patriarchal society, which the US is. The US is a very patriarchal society still. So, and please just ignore any sounds coming from outside. So most of what we learn about sex is patriarchal, toxic. It's a distorted masculine view of sex, and a lot of it's accumulated from either porn or from like a goal-oriented view of sex. And so the goal-oriented could be like trying to get off, which is a goal. So it's like a goal you would have during sex is trying to get off. Or it could just be like anything that's performative. So even just like, wanting to be good in bed, for example, or wanting to like have moves, or I don't know, basically wanting to perform. So those are both like very goal-oriented approaches to sex. It can also be like sex that attempts to like take something from another person. And so the most obvious examples of this are like rape and sexual assault, but it doesn't have to be at that level to be like trying to take. And so this is again like a very distorted masculine point of view. And it doesn't mean that the feminine can't get into this mode, but it does. It's just a more distorted masculine. Taking rather than giving. The distorted masculine belongs in the place of giving, the masculine belongs in the place of giving, and the feminine of receiving. And so if the masculine is going to a place of taking, it's a distortion. And I'm talking specifically about the energies. I'm not talking about men and women specifically. So sex that takes from another, it's basically trying to get something from someone at a cost to them and not caring. Really like caring or not caring. Like you're trying to get something from someone that is going to cost them something. And so it doesn't have to be sexual assault or rape. It can also just be like persuading somebody, convincing somebody, pressuring somebody, making someone feel unsafe in any way, and anything there. So it's rooted in conflict and tension. It's rooted in a power struggle, basically. And so that's even why, like I was reading something about a woman who was like a call girl, and she went to this guy's house. It was a client, and he was so nice to her, and like she was actually like finding herself attracted to him in some way. And then they got to the point of having sex, and she so they were having sex, and he said, "You don't have to pretend you like it." And she said that immediately like made her sick to her stomach. And she was explaining why, because I mean, this is her profession, and I don't know if it was a choice, but it was what was in her reality. And this was what she was doing for money. But she was explaining that once he said that, she realized that what he was getting off on was not like anything physical. It was like the power struggle, or like the domination over her, or the idea that he was taking something from her that she didn't want to give. And so it's really like, that's what I mean by sex that takes from another. And it doesn't have to be this extreme example of a call girl, but I think this can happen in a relationship as well. Even a loving relationship, it can still happen. So that's the distorted masculine energy side of things. And that doesn't mean it's all men. Like I said, it just means that it's the distorted masculine energy. The distorted feminine energy is slightly different. It's really like, in our society, there are two archetypes for women around sex. And it's basically the Virgin Mary and slutty Mary Magdalene who's sleeping with Jesus out of wedlock. And those are really, and is a prostitute, right? And so those are really the only two archetypes that you will find in history for women having sex. And with the Virgin Mary, it's not just that she's virginal, it's also that the only point of her having sex was to give birth. So there was nothing about she had sex for pleasure. It was all like she had sex for procreation, and she had sex to become a mother. And the other thing is, like, as far as Jesus and the Bible goes, like, because most people accept, obviously, that Mary was like a child, like basically a child bride to Joseph, and that's why she was having a baby. But that's what, like, historically people accept, or like atheists accept. What religious people accept is that she was actually a virgin giving birth. So it's like she didn't even have sex in order to procreate. She was able to procreate without sex. But even if you accept that she probably did have sex as a religious person, it's also still ingrained in you, or still being taught to you, that it was only for the purpose of having children. And then when it comes to Mary Magdalene, she was a prostitute, she was a seductress, she was a whore, she was a slut, like, and then this is just like brought down on women from a very early age, not just shame from their parents a lot of times, about like remaining virginal, but also shame from like, boys at their school or whatever. So it's just like this whole, like it's a whole, just really toxic environment for, like women, females, feminines. So if you are a feminine energy, then you still experience this, even if you're not a female. But it's like this super toxic environment for women or for feminines to grow up in. And so this was often used historically to control women. And so, and basically the other thing that it teaches, so it's used to control women. And I think a lot of historical pieces of many religions are used to control women and children for the most part. And men to some extent as well, but in a different way. So I guess it's to control everyone, but specifically, it's used to control women around sex specifically. The other thing that this has all taught women is that sex is something that's ungodly or impious. And it's really taught the same thing to the distorted masculine, because for the distorted masculine, it's really taught that like sex is something that you take, or sex is something that is given to you by like taking action or doing things like hitting on a woman. It paints sex as something that is either given to you through like attractive behavior, or is taken away from you through unattractive behavior, or is something that if it's not given to you, you got to go out and take it. And these are kind of the underlying messages of our society around sex. And so, for the most part, people here, especially here in the US, but in any patriarchal society, they're having sex out of their wounding. So like, yeah, like it's like you're, you know, the way in which you're experiencing sex is probably from a place of wounding right now. And any wounding, especially in a relationship, is going to be something that you want to heal to move forward on your twin soul journey. So when it comes to sex on the twin soul journey, whether you're healing this before your union or after your union, it's something that you have to work through. And the ideal energy for sex on your union, and so this has nothing to do with like the actual sexual acts, like you can do whatever you want, like in terms of like what you do for sex, but the ideal energy of sex on your twin soul journey is going to be expressing love for your twin soul, expressing love for yourself, connecting emotionally and spiritually, and mentally and physically, obviously, like connecting on every level, deep and true vulnerability, flow and unfolding and being present, not like worrying in that moment, like, how do I look, or or am I performing, or like how close is this to happening, or it's not like none of that, like just being present and allowing things to unfold, and then having fun expressing yourself. So ultimately, in terms of twin soul sex, and really in terms of all sex, it's a way to connect with God in the end. And this is gonna be a big block for people, because it sounds really squicky, because we're taught again, like we're so ingrained in us that sex is an ungodly act. That's what's been ingrained in us through religion, but actually sex is a godly act, and that's the wounding that we have to heal on the twin soul journey. The reason it's a godly act is because of the twin soul trinity. Your relationship with your twin soul is just a manifestation, a physical manifestation of your relationship with God. So when you have sex with your twin soul, it's basically having sex with God. Like, it's a way to connect with God. And that's going to be, if you're listening to this and being like, whoa, that feels like really bad to me. The reason why is because of societal conditioning. So this is what twin soul sex is really about. And you don't have to wait for your twin soul. You don't have to wait to have sex with your twin soul to heal this within yourself. So you can choose to heal it within yourself right now through just same healing work that you would do with anything. And the process for that is basically moving the subconscious to the conscious, which you're probably doing just by listening to this video, and then healing and releasing that from a conscious place. So you can heal it within yourself. It's also okay, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, but I think it's okay to have sex with people who are not your twin. If you are doing that, you are choosing to heal through contrast. And that seems fine to me. It's still a form of healing. I don't think healing through contrast is better or worse than just healing through your choice. I think either is fine. The one thing I will say is that this is kind of similar to, I've done a couple of videos about dating, and the only thing I would say is that sleeping around, or like sleeping with people you don't know very well, that sort of thing. Sleeping with people where it's not like a vulnerable situation, really. It's not the energy of your twin soul union, because the energy of your twin soul union is going to be like a deep emotional connection when you have sex with your twin soul. That's going to be the energy about it. And it's going to be like a deeply loving connection. So if you're sleeping with a lot of people that you're very surface with and you're not going deep with, then that's not really the energy of your twin soul union. But I think it's fine. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's just like the same with dating. Like, eventually you're going to get sick of it because you're craving your twin soul union. Like, you're craving a deeper connection. So, you can heal it just through your choices and your inner healing work, or you can heal it through contrast. Doesn't really matter. Either way is going to get you to where you want to go. So don't really need to change anything. Just realize that you're bringing the subconscious to the conscious in order to release it. And so, the last thing is, if your twin has a distorted or toxic relationship to sex, which they probably do because it's just part of society, then you can heal it through healing it on your end. So one that I see a lot is, the masculine is, this is kind of like what I see in twin soul forums. Like, my masculine is like cheating on me or sleeping around with lots of people. And I don't understand because I am making the choice to stay celibate. So if this is something you're experiencing, the reason that this situation is happening is because of the underlying wounding. You're basically both of you are playing the roles that the patriarchy has put forth for you. And so, a lot of I've heard from other twin soul teachers that, if you're celibate, then your twin will be celibate, or if you're not having sex, your twin won't have sex, or if you do have sex, then your twin will also have sex. And this doesn't make sense to me, because the underlying pattern of you deciding to stay celibate is the distorted feminine pattern of the Virgin Mary. You're staying celibate because of an external source, not because you desire to stay celibate within you. And you're doing it so that you can get something externally. And so thus your the masculine energy within you is also going to be distorted, because the distorted feminine and distorted masculine energies are going to match up. And so then that masculine energy is going to play into the same patriarchal views that you are playing into as a result. And so that's not to say like, oh, well, just go out and have sex and then my masculine will like stop having sex. It's not what I'm saying, because you don't create in your reality by doing something external to yourself. You create in your reality by shifting your inner self. So if you are playing into a patriarchal view of sex, you need to shift and heal that patriarchal view. And then as you do that, your true twin soul will do the same and will move out of that toxicity or distortedness that we experience through the patriarchy. I hope this has been helpful to you, and I hope it was a fun and juicy topic for you. Quick update on my books. So Your Twin Soul Journey is the book I've been working on, and I've decided to break it up into multiple books. And so I think that this topic specifically will probably be covered in the masculine and feminine book. So I think the book is called Masculine versus Feminine. And definitely check it out. I'm gonna put it up on pre-order shortly, and it'll probably come out in a couple months. But it'll be a book that talks about how to shift from distorted masculine and distorted feminine to divine masculine and divine feminine. And then it'll also talk about a lot of the dynamics between the masculine and feminine within the relationship, because I think there are always a lot of questions about like, well, why did my masculine do this? Or why did my feminine do this? And so there's a lot in those twin soul dynamics that are confusing. So that's what the book's going to be about. Again, I think it's going to be called Masculine versus Feminine. And it's going to talk about the inner union. So check out that book. Just watch my media in order to hear more about it. So you can check out my YouTube channel, cardreadingqueen.com/YouTube. You can check out my podcast, Your Twin Soul Journey. I'm sure I'll make an announcement on there about it. And then you can check out my blog, cardreadingqueen.com/blog. And I have some other social media that it'll probably also be posted to. So that's all for this. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and I hope you have a beautiful and blessed day.